Here is the motion picture record released by the United States Navy of the havoc wrought by the sneak sky and sea raid on Pearl Harbor, America's mid-Pacific naval bastion. On December 7th, 1941, Japan, like its infamous Axis partners, struck first and declared war afterwards. Costly to our Navy was the loss of war vessels, airplanes, and equipment, but more costly to Japan was the effectiveness of its foul attack in immediately unifying America in its determination to fight and win the war thrust upon it, and to win the peace that will follow.
That day in Pearl Harbor, when you first saw what was happening, when you got down to the docks, can you still remember what you felt?
Shock more than anything. You know, when you're 20 years old, you're invincible. And, you know, you didn't think, and it happened so suddenly anyhow. And then you got so busy, you didn't have too much to think about actually. Yeah. And then I was assigned to the commissioning detail of the USS Solace, which was a brand new hospital ship that was being commissioned in August of 1941. Went aboard, we left New York. A bunch of us on the ship that had never been out to sea before, couldn't figure out where in the heck Pearl Harbor was. We knew about Honolulu and that sort of thing. But Pearl Harbor was new to us until mid-October of 1941 when we came into this great big harbor with close to 100 ships in it. And there was Pearl Harbor in Hawaii.
When you were 17 and you decided to join, did you expect to see what you saw?
Oh, heavens no. Well, the war was going on, excuse me, in Europe at the time. Hitler had invaded Poland and all that stuff. But it didn't affect us. When we pulled into Pearl, there was no evidence of anything going on in the Pacific Ocean at that time. But then the 7th of December made a big difference.
It was 7:50 a.m. by the clock on the Aloha Tower when the drone of planes was faintly heard.
And four of my shipmates and I, as a matter of fact, we'd been in Pearl since October, and we hadn't seen much besides sailor haunts and Waikiki Beach and that sort of thing. So we decided we would rent a taxi cab for a day, which was Sunday the 7th. And our driver would take us all over the island and show us all the things that were being done, that sort of thing. And we were on the dock at 7 o'clock in the morning, and the cab was there. And we took off, took our whites off, put our dungarees on, and just took off. We were climbing coconut trees, also everything that, you know, a 20-year-old kid would do. And we looked over to one way. The McAnany Naval Air Station was over there, and we saw anti-aircraft bursts going off. And, well, we decided these nuts were doing a little practice on Sunday even. And then we'd see an airplane fall down, and well, they're shooting at drones. Well, about that time, some guy drove up in his car, and as I say, we were in dungarees, but he wanted to know if we were in the service. And we said, yeah. He said, well, you're supposed to get back to your ships or stations because the Japanese had just bombed Pearl Harbor. And this is right at 8 o'clock in the morning. So anyhow, we look at him and finally he said, well, turn the radio on in your cab and listen. So we did, and sure enough, boy, it was get back, so we changed clothes, got the cab, went out to Pearl, and we got down to the fleet landing, and here's hundreds, if not thousands, of sailors on the dock waiting to get back to their ships, and there was nothing running, so nobody could get back. So anyhow, this little Marine sentry saw that we were hospital corpsmen, and he said, hey, you guys get in that boat and go out there where you could do some good. So we did. The 5 of us got in this motor launch and headed out toward Battleship Row. And that's when the second wave came over. And the 5 of us stood in that boat and looked up, and oh my goodness, because they were, you had the feeling that if you were just about 6 inches taller, you could grab one of these things. They were flying that low, part of them were. We went out by Battleship Row, and nothing but flames. The water was totally afire because of all the oil that was coming out of the ruptured tanks of the ships. And guys were swimming in this stuff, and we picked up a boatload, took them to Ford Island, dumped them off, and before the 5 of us could get back to the boat, the coxswain pulled the boat away, and here we were stranded. No way of getting back to the ship or anything, so we went to the infirmary on the island, volunteered for duty, and they said, well, there's nothing you can do here, we're not having any problems, but go over to the mess hall across the street and help out over there. And this is where all the people were coming ashore and coming to this mess hall for treatment. And the biggest part of the treatment consisted of just cleaning them up and doing something for the burns. There were more burns than you could shake a stick at. Because the water was, you think the water can't burn, that's another story. But anyhow, in the afternoon, the 5 of us packed up some stuff and went across the air station to the other side of the air station. And we went to work over there. Well, Tuesday morning, they sent people out to relieve us, and we finally got back to the ship. And fresh food, clean clothes, shower. It was wonderful. When I talk to kids, and I've done this several times now, I usually end the discussion with the fact that life is such a precious thing, because we would get these guys fresh. I mean, they were on that island at 8 o'clock in the morning, and they were on my ship at, say, 10, and they were not in good shape. And these guys were fighting for every breath that they were taking. And it made you stop and think, when you finally woke up to what the hell was going on, how precious life really was. Because these guys were fighting for every breath. They didn't want to go. And it made you stop and think that there has to be a lot more to it than just getting up in the morning, having breakfast, and going to bed that night. That's one of the many things I learned in that era. But no, life is something to be treasured. It really is.
Do you think that younger generations have lost that perspective?
Oh, sure. Yeah. But then, they haven't gone through some of the things that You know, hell, well, you know, going all the way through it from the Depression to this to the war and getting out in civilian life, it's just a whole bunch of life changes.
So talking about how you learned during that time that life is so precious, so how did that change the rest of your life, the way you looked at things?
More realistic, for one thing, you know. But I don't think I became any easier to get along with or anything like that. But no, it had more meaning. It really did.